בן אדם, מה לך נרדם? קום קרא בתחני, כל דומייתך לאוזני כתופים, לא מצאתי חן בעיניך אבי. תן לי תפילה אחת טובה שתפתח לי את כל השערים, תן לי מילה אחת כנה שתותיר אותי בלי שום אוויר. אני רוצה להיות תלוי על חוט השערה באמצע הים, צועק בכל כוחי, ריבונו של עולם, מה לך נרדם? תציל אותי.
Do you have a filter there? Wait. I mean, let's do it from the beginning.
Oh, we're good.
We could get this like an African vibe from the beginning. Okay, listen. Let's start it again. Okay, for me. This is good, but I didn't get the vibe.
You didn't get the vibe?
Yeah.
All right, we'll try another.
So we need to start with the beat, same beat. Then you go for like.
Hey na, hey na na, hey na na, hey na na, hey na. Tell me tefila, tell me tefila, tefila.
Yes.
Tell me, 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 tell me.
Of course.
Tell me tefila, tell me tefila, tell me tefila. תן לי תפילה אחת טובה שתפתח לי את כל השערים, תן לי מילה אחת כנה שתותיר אותי בלי שום אוויר. אני רוצה להיות תלוי על חוט השערה באמצע הים, צועק בכל כוחי. תן לי תפילה אחת טובה שתפתח לי את כל השערים, תן לי מילה אחת כנה שתותיר אותי בלי שום אוויר. אני רוצה להיות כחיה נוהמת בים, לילות שלמים, ריבונו של עולם, מה לך נרדם? תציל אותי.
Well, you
He's crying. He's crying.
Beautiful, guys.
Well, ain't that a jam, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ami's house. Welcome back. We have an exceptional, gifted, very special, holy brother in the house, Shmuel. Welcome to Ami's house.
Great to be here.
So we didn't have to restart. We kind of like found our way.
Right, that was really nice. I didn't get where we were going in the beginning, but it turned out
We
beautiful.
found the vibe.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Had you
Michael, from the layperson's perspective, who's just watching, what did
Had
you
you
see?
had that African beat in your mind, or that just came to you while
When
you
he
were...
said African, I was like, I see. Because the 6/8 feel could be many different things. And that's very African too.
So you brought it there to more the African.
When he said African, I think I might have did a little click. And then you're like, oh.
No, you did
I
sound
said,
like,
"No more
hey, or I don't know what that was,
Yeah.
but something that sounded African to me.
We just culturally appropriated that.
Paul Simon started it.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But yeah, we were just cooking, baby. We were
that
just
was
cooking. Here,
nice.
Michael. Let's put it on the stand next to you.
got you.
Oh no, your precious mandolin, Michael, that you've been playing for years. Great solo, by the way, Michael. what
Dude,
you
I
did.
haven't played the mandolin in forever. It just comes back to you, you know? That's what
You
they
were-
say about it, and it's true.
Watching you kind of riff that whole time.
Yeah.
Where
I
can we
didn't,
put that?
and that just kind of came to me. Can I put it on the floor? Is that okay?
Put the mandolin on the floor, and then we'll put the guitar over there. Once he said African, I sort of.
You knew.
That was
That
cool.
was really cool. We should
was-
consider an official remix of that.
You could
Yeah.
do like a whole thing in Israel with like.
Well, you know,
That kind of
Get a
Lion
bunch of
King,
African
that
choir.
kind of Lion King style of music is
Matis
so
would sound good on that
satisfying.
also.
Matis
I
would
thought you were doing a Matis Yahoo thing.
Oh, when I went.
With that-
Okay, if I want to do something with Matisiao, I'll know what demo to send him.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Don't worry.
I'll send you like
He likes that feel for sure. Shmuel, welcome, man. Let's. We've been cooking, we've been hanging pre-pod, which has been great. Eating bagels and whatnot. You're just fresh off the plane from the Holy Land.
100% jet lag.
Yeah, but you're on backup reserves here. You
Yeah,
seem pretty
yeah.
energized.
It's like 8 p.m. where you are. It's not that late.
relax.
But I'm after a 12-hour flight.
Fair
so.
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, I guess we could start a little biographical for the folks who don't really know you.
I don't know so much about you.
the background.
The background. Yeah.
You're a hybrid. You got some Anglo English blood in you for sure, because the English is
Right.
pretty unaccented. It's very like BB-esque, you know. Very, very, very subtle Israeli. It's slightly there, but it's not quite there. It's a
I
little
have
bit-
an Israeli accent? Is that what
very,
you're saying?
very subtle. And it's not even. It's more like a American or Anglo raised in Israel. But you know, it's quite a couple of subtle words there.
You know, when I'm in Eretz Yisrael, when I'm in Israel, people
Yeah.
tell me I have a bit of an American accent.
Right.
And now
In
you
your
tell
Hebrew?
me I have a bit of now you tell me I have a bit of an Israeli accent.
So there's a very
guess
slight
I-
kind of thing that happens with Israelis if you have American or British parents and you're speaking, you say words like parents.
Yeah.
You know, it's super
Parents.
subtle. It's almost like undetectable if you're not really paying attention. You know, like Naftali Bennett style. It's really, really subtle. You went to
Really?
school in the States, but it's almost it's not like hey, I'm Israeli.
Wait. Say parents.
Parents.
No, like in American.
Parents.
Parents.
Yeah. It happens with people who also move there after like a year. They start like.
Nachon.
yeah,
They start
yeah.
to do them. Okay,
Yeah.
so gam v'gam. They start to do a thing.
I want to go, but I don't know.
And
there's a
maybe we.
cadence.
So
There's a
I didn't hear
cadence.
anything now when you said
Oh,
it
yeah,
sounded
yeah,
American to me.
Well, yeah.
So look, it's like, I want to
That's,
go, or I want to go. There's something that starts to happen where the Sabra takes over. But yeah, Israelis are like, your Hebrew is a little bit Americanized.
I guess so.
So you're a lonely man out there,
Exactly.
accepted by no one.
Exactly.
But tell us a little bit background. You're born and raised in Israel with
Yeah.
give
I
us
was
give us
born
the
and
give us the
raised-
quick
born and raised
backstory.
in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
And my mom is British,
Mhm.
father Argentinian, and I grew up in Efrat, which, if anybody knows the place, it's
Settlement.
basically growing in America. It's
Yeah,
a settlement, that's true. But it doesn't feel like a settlement. It feels like a settlement. Settlement.
It's not a caravan on a mountaintop. It's
Yeah.
legit.
It's a huge city.
It's a lot of English speakers, so I kind of lost my British accent. I didn't completely acquire the American accent, so I'm somewhere, and I have my Israeli accent, so.
So when
everything's got
protesters
together.
show up in America to protest real estate, that's your house. Seriously, because they
Anywhere.
don't know the difference. When people here talk about settlements, like who are
Right.
anti-Israel, they have no idea what they're
and
talking
it's
about.
and it's like literally like 90 seconds like over the line, right?
Right.
It's like it's not like far into the West Bank. It's like I mean
To
I don't
be
know
honest,
exactly. but I
matter?
think
I'm not
Michael?
sure where the line passes
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I've been like farther down the line in
Is
places
there a green
like
line on your
next to
street that you
Hebron.
Only stay on this side of the green
So
line.
Efrat is, like you're saying, it's American, very American.
It's very American, but really there's not a big difference between like, you know, a minute across the green line or
Right.
like 2 hours to the south.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Same place, really.
And what's and growing up there in terms of, is there like a music scene of how people like get into the, I mean, I come from like the Jersey, East Coast, even in the Jewish world here, there's like specific little enclaves. And what was the scene like for you growing up and how you got into the music scene?
Well, first of all, I didn't grow up on a lot of Israeli music. It was more American music, like American bands and pop music, some Jewish, like Blue Fringe type of, yeah.
We had the front man for Blue Fringe here.
He's
Yeah,
an
yeah,
alum
yeah.
and a current bandmate. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Blue Fringe. So some of the American pop Jewish stuff was
Yeah,
influential.
so it's an honor. But more like Imagine Dragons, you know, all of the mainstream rock pop kind of genre. So I wasn't really, also some Israeli music, and but I grew up very shy. Like I like standing on stage, but it also takes it took a lot for me to learn how to feel comfortable. And so I wasn't really the type of guy that would go to bars and just perform for 5 people. You know, I know Isha Ribo did that for a while.
The busking, just showing up at Mike's place. and-
Exactly. Isha Ribo for a long time would perform for like less than 10 people.
Were you at those shows or you had heard that?
No, I
secondhand?
heard it. I heard it from him. But I and he says like that's the way to do it. And I knew that he says that before I met him, and I felt a little guilty that I'm not doing that. But I felt like it's not natural for me. The natural way for me was to just have my laptop and my recording studio, like which was a $50 USB microphone. That was the recording studio, and just to record myself. And I would make myself little cute. Like After Effects videos, very low level After Effects videos.
Yeah.
And just upload it to YouTube sometimes every day. And I wouldn't do any shows unless people would invite me. So I didn't do hardly any shows. That was for about 9 years or so.
Did you pedestal it as like, I want to be doing that, but it's like, ugh. Was that just a
Yeah,
comfort
yeah.
zone you couldn't cross?
For sure. I wanted to do everything I can,
Yeah.
but I just felt like it's not me. And it felt too hard on me.
What was the moment for you when you were like, at what age or whatever, where you're looking at somebody doing something musically and you're like, what's that? I want in on that. I want me to be that. What was that
That's
for
such
you?
a sweet moment. I don't know if it's a moment, but it's growing up, you know, listening, when you put in the earphones and you hear this pop production that just takes you to a place that doesn't exist in the real world.
Yeah.
It just gives you a feeling of, how do you do that? Like what's going on here that makes me feel such strong emotions? And it wasn't really like a decision saying I want to be a producer, or I want to be a singer. You know, I think like maybe 90% of teenagers want to be singers. Like they have the guitar and they sit in recess and just like jam around. But it just kept going. Like when my friends stopped jamming, I carried on and I started writing my own music and like producing my own terrible little.
But it's interesting, you found that spark in the headphones, in the record that you were listening to. You were like, what is this place? Because I know like in my case, and a lot of people, they see a performance, they see that like somebody connecting in a live setting and they're like, I want to be where that guy is. And the records are all part of that ecosystem.
Yeah.
But you found it directly as you're, I mean, everyone's moved by music in different capacities,
Right.
but you're listening, you're like curious as to the sounds that are happening and why they're making you feel a certain way.
Yeah, so that's the production side.
Yeah.
But in Israel, there's a whole thing that I don't think really happens in America as much, which is there's a whole genre of artists, mainly religious, but also secular, that they kind of try to be as honest as possible in their music about their insecurities and about what they're going through. And
Like who?
like I think the king of it is Evyatar Banai.
Uh-huh.
And you know, Hanan Ben Ari, Isha Ribo,
Yeah.
Akiva, they all listen to Evyatar Banai.
Right.
We all grew up on him, and he kind of set a standard of what are you doing when you're writing a song? It's not just trying to evoke emotion, but it's also really trying to pinpoint how you're actually feeling and what you're going through in a very, very honest way.
And Aluf, what's the song? Aluf Ha'olam?
Aluf Ha'olam.
Aluf Ha'olam. You ever hear that?
Ani Aluf Ha'olam belipot.
Ani Aluf Ha'olam. I'm like, every time he says, I'm like, whoa. It takes me so. Ani Aluf Ha'olam.
It's an incredible song.
It really is. In his production too, there's a minimalism, and then boom, it just hits everything.
Yeah.
It's a very Breslov aesthetic, I guess.
Yeah.
The honesty and like the vulnerability,
yeah,
the forthright. Because
sure.
he, I mean, I know he goes to Uman. I don't know how
Who,
Breslov is.
Evyatar?
Evyatar Bana.
I think he's playing with Yishai at the Garden, right?
Oh, that's cool.
I think he's one of the
I didn't
featured
know
artists.
that.
I think the next one.
Yeah. At this one coming up, I saw with Evyatar
That's
Bana.
awesome.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
comes up a lot. The thing, so there's a Breslov idea in there, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I
honest.
think so. Yeah, it's like because you said it's like a religious mixed with secular.
Right.
So that's
Honestly, I believe that that's where it comes from. That's the source. Because you could see artists that the moment they start incorporating like Breslov ideas in their music, it just starts to soar. Like Akiva, he wasn't so well known. Then he put out a song called Al Tazvi Yadayim. You know the song?
No.
And it's a song based on one of Reb Nachman's stories.
Uh,
But
Can you sing a snippet of it? Because I know.
בוודאי ישנו שם, זה לא בשמיים, לא בסוף העולם.
You know that one?
what's the
כל
story?
הטובות לפנייך, רק אל תעזבי ידייך, אל תעזבי ידייך.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What story is it based on?
So it's a story, it's Reb Nachman's, I think it's his most famous story. It's called מעשה מעבדת בת מלך, a tale of
The Lost Princess,
yeah. And in the story, it's a story about a king that tells his daughter you should go to a place called the Not Good. That's the name of the place. And she disappears after he says that. And it's a story about the king's assistant that goes on a journey to find her and to get her back home. And he meets all kinds of people in the way that tell him the place you're looking for doesn't exist. You should just stop looking. And they give him proof and they show him it can't be. There's no place. And he says a sentence, "Bevadai yeshno sham," which means there must be. There certainly is. And that's the chorus. "Bevadai yeshno sham." And the whole story and the song of Akiva is about a girl who's living in Tel Aviv, who has everything material that she wants. She has the prettiest house in the town, but she's looking for something more, and everybody's telling her, "You're crazy. There's nothing else." And she says, there certainly is. And Aluf Ha'olam is a very Breslov motive about I'm the best at falling and getting back up.
We're going to see these A&R guys all over the United States. Guys, we're going Breslov. Yeah. Super hot right
should.
now.
It's
There's thousands of people. They're going on pilgrimages. We go Breslov. It's going to be a hit. It's interesting when you talk about, you said it's like true in Israel. I'm not sure about America, but I think the universal idea behind songwriting that hits best is when you're trying to arrive at the authenticity. And the hardest thing is simple and resonant and authentic without being cheesy and generic, right? Or hacky. Like
Right.
towing those lines is very, very difficult because you're trying to be relatable in your song. You want people to connect to it, but you're not trying to tell, you're trying to show, you know? So It's like a very delicate balance. And with all kind of art, you know, I think with writing, like screenwriting, it's about, or comedy, you don't want to be hacky and corny. And with songwriting, you don't want to be cheesy and generic.
Right.
And so towing that line, if you want to make music that connects. I mean, obviously, if you want to be a music university professor and write abstract music that sounds terrible, but it's complicated, people do that. But I find that the sweet spot is sort of, that's what makes pop music special, is the balance of new and familiar. I mean, it's this tug of war between the two, where something sounds, I feel like I've heard this, but I haven't heard this. And it's just fresh enough. But if it's too out there, people can't connect to it. So
yeah, people really
that's
want
the
you
battle.
to say their situation in a way that they know they're in, but they don't know how to say it. So if you can touch if you could explain to people what they're feeling before they could explain it to themselves, that's a song that people really, really give their hearts to. That's like the top, you know, what I wish for every song.
That's
of
the
mine to
ideal.
be. Yeah, that's the ideal, exactly.
Right.
But most of the songs are like the lower quality version of that, which is just using, you know, certain words to make somebody connect to where you. So it feels like a sincere song, but after listening to it 3 times, you feel like, well, I heard this already. I already knew this. Like I don't know if we can talk about Taylor Swift here and stuff like
Sure,
that. But,
yeah.
You know, a lot of pop music.
Come after us, Swifties.
No. She's very talented, obviously, but it's more like trying to evoke emotion, and you don't want to feel like somebody's trying to do that.
I still don't get it.
What, the Taylor Swift thing?
I still don't get it.
People say that.
All I can say is this. I'm a musician. I listen with a pretty sophisticated ear, and I'm not going to knock it. Everyone I know who's ever crossed paths or worked with her testifies to the genius, right? That this is and I know that I've had experiences with artists where once you come into contact with them and actually work with them, something is revealed to you, especially like popular ones. You're like, oh, no, I'm telling you, like insane skill. But when I'm listening to just results from afar as just a listener, songs are nice. The songs are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. They're catchy, but they're not like Michael Jackson level, Beatles level, Philip Arenas. Impressive to me, you know?
They're more, they touch.
Me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. And it's fine. I'm not a hater. I'm just like the amount of attention and success and what she's doing to the world, I don't quite understand. I'm still trying to figure it out.
What she does is that she touches your insecurities in a very poetic way.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a good song should do that. But like, here's the thing.
Unleash the
think
fury,
you
Shmuel.
can't. No, I don't care about Taylor Swift that much.
Yeah.
But it's a struggle for me as an artist because I feel like you can't really write a good song. There's no technique. There's nothing that you can do to initiate a good song that'll actually be good. Because what I consider a good song isn't just that it evokes emotion, it's that it actually awakens something good inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can touch a prayer that you wanted to say for a long time, but you didn't know how to say it, that's a good song.
Mm-hmm.
If I just say a couple of, like, my situation is terrible, and I say it in a poetic way, and then people resonate with it because they feel pity for themselves as well. So I could have a hit, but it's not a good song.
I think the word good is so subjective.
It's not like a valuable song.
Exactly.
It's not doing the work in the world you want the songs to be doing.
Exactly.
But that brings your spiritual motivations to your writing more than the artistic, because songs can also reveal something bad in you, and that helps get rid of it, or it can help you just dance and have fun and escape. So there's different functions for different types of songs and different kinds of music.
I don't like that concept of awakening something bad, but then you don't know what to, like, you're not dealing with it in the song. Then you just, like, Reb Nachman once in one of his teachings, he says, if you tell somebody off, like he's doing something bad, and you're trying to correct him, even have good intentions, but you're doing it in a way that he doesn't know how to deal with it, then it's like, if there's something that smells bad, as long as you don't move it, you don't smell it. Mm-hmm. But if you start poking it around,
What are you saying?
He also adds to that. He says even the people who hear you say that thing to the other person are damaged by it.
right?
Well,
Bring it back
but
to
let's
songs.
Let's say you've had
It's
bad.
just having that.
But let's say you've had bad experience, bad thoughts, trauma, and instead of acting it out in the world violently or hurting someone, you express it in the form of a book or a song, and you pour your soul into it. Someone sees that and sees a shared experience. There's value. No?
I see that there is value. I don't. When I write my own songs, if I have a few songs. Like, a lot of times I'll write a song that'll just be my situation, and I'll think it's a good song. People will resonate, but I feel like I don't want to touch those issues in somebody's personality if I'm not going to give him any remedy. You know, if I'm not going to give him some desire to fix it in a way that doesn't feel tacky or cheesy, but in a way that's real. So I can write a lot of songs that I'll just chuck away because I don't technically know what to do with them, you know?
You know, we were just talking about this. Can you walk us through, like, when you have a song that you're like, oh, this is going to be good, but it's not what I'm going for? How do you chuck it away? Because you make it sound so easy, but when you got something that you know is going to be popular, it's hard to just chuck it away.
It's really hard, especially now when I feel like the more your songs have exposure, the more pressure builds. Like, people come to me in the street, like, when's the next Tefillah? When's the next Nekudot?
You ever show this to Arya and he's like, don't, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, that was the fun.
I have a song now, actually, that I have that's really, like,
You're on the
Arya,
fence?
my producer, he's telling me this is the next single. It's groovy. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's epic. People
It's
will love it.
African.
I wrote it 4 times already.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wrote it from scratch 4 times at least.
Yeah.
And each version was technically good. Like it was, like I know basically how to write a song.
Yeah.
But I felt like it doesn't have that thing, that kind of breaks down some barrier in your heart or in your life. And it's hard to chuck it away, but it's harder for me to put it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it hurts me, but I don't know what to do with it anyway.
So let's push back on this a little bit. Let me figure this out. It sounds like there's 2 components here, because there's you, the songwriter, and you sort of the person, the totality of you, which struggles with, like, there's another element to songwriting that's holy for you, that it needs to also check that box.
Right.
In other words, songs can function all sorts of ways, as I described. They can do all those sorts of things. But as far as what you want to put out, you also want this other element to it, which is probably, which is what's going on with in terms of the religious mindset as well.
No, but is that, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. Is that correct? Is that one element of it, or is it the entire foundation of it?
What do you mean?
Is the fact that you wanted to accomplish some kind of holy work just one part of it, or is that the entire thing? That's what I'm saying.
I would not be a musician if I didn't have that thing. Like I had like a year after I got married that I was pretty certain I won't be a musician, because like I loved singing to God, and I felt I don't need anything more than that. Like that's music for me. It's not something that you need to put on stage.
It's a great audience.
Yeah, he is. He's the best audience.
Yeah.
And
What
he
a beautiful audience.
he writes the songs for you, and he listens.
And he listens back. It's a little selfish. It's like, okay, thank you. Thanks for the inspiration. Here it is.
And I felt very comfortable
audience.
with that kind of thing.
I understand. And you were content with it being your own private fulfillment.
Yeah, and that was the time when I would just like upload songs. I would just film myself with a guitar and upload it to YouTube, sometimes a song a day. And I felt like a week before Aryeh called me, I spoke to some guy that owned this place that he would invite me to play. And I told him, I've accepted the fact that if I'll be famous, it'll be after I die.
Whoa.
Because as long as I need to, I see now, for instance, that I'm not managing to write the next single.
We've put a hit on you for after this episode, so don't God forbid.
Because once you start putting the music out and people start reacting, and now you have this relationship, it's very difficult to touch that kind of divine point of music.
The one thing I would push back on in this mentality is that you are responsible for, you create the songs, but you really don't know how they're going to affect people and how they're going to impact people in holy ways or just for fun or shallow or deep, superficial or real, until you put it out there. And then you'll never know that if a certain song that you thought might not have accomplished something, put something out, and then somebody says, I have to tell you, when I heard that song, it brought me closer to God. It brought me closer to family. It did something for me. It provided me this joy that I needed to get through something. In other words, a lot of songwriters, we talk about the idea of once we put it out there, it's not really in our hands anymore, how people receive them. And it's almost like, if songs are like people that you're creating, they're elements of creation. Maybe the act of creation itself is holy. And as an end in and of itself, it's done. You've created something from nothing, and you've put it out there. You've been inspired. It goes out into the world. In the same way, when we have children, we hope for the best for them when they go out there, but we cannot control their characters and their characteristic and what they do. We can try to guide it, and in the creation of the song, you try your best to do that. But and you can only arrive at some of the best stuff that may have impact along the way. So it's just like, I don't know, the standard that you're putting on it can be self-defeating and deprive our world of holy music, even if you're having trouble finding the holy in it in the moment.
That's a nice way to put it, like children. That you don't decide if they'll be holy when you...
and you don't control their destiny.
Right.
But they're products of you, and by nature, if you were given the inspiration and the gift to create something, I'm not telling you what to do, but I am. If you've been given that ability and that sensibility and capability to create like these things, I don't know. I feel like everything is the ability to communicate in that way. But I definitely appreciate what you're saying, that for you and your standard, it needs to have this other component to it, because that's what for you is signature and makes it your own. and not just like an exercise in just a little project. It's elevated. You hold it to a higher standard, which I haven't heard articulated that way, and it certainly comes from the religious component. But I'm just curious. Your thoughts on everything I just said?
You put it really nicely with the kids thing. I think that's a nice way to put it. And what I agree with you about is that it can easily become overthinking when you
perfect is the enemy of the good.
Yeah, when you try and like find the divine element in every song, you could just get stuck in not putting out anything, which is probably worse. But I do feel it's different than kids in the sense that you have, as I've seen with Tfilah, and you've seen with a lot of your content, you could reach millions of people with one song. And to me, that's a big responsibility, even more than having a child. Because when you have a child,
they're not going to go viral.
One turns out good, one doesn't.
And they're not. None of my kids are viral, so forget them.
It's not worth that much.
I mean, they're not viral. Let's be honest. Every time I post a video of them, it gets like a couple hundred views or whatever. Right. But yeah, you're just saying, yes, the reach, the visibility of what this is going to do. Is and therefore,
and I honestly believe that God hears our music. Like in the end, that's where it goes. Like if a guy takes my song and sings it to Hashem, that's perfect. Like that's what I want. And if a guy takes my song, and again, I have a lot of respect to Hanan Ben Ari has a lot of very moving stories about his music, and he doesn't put in Hashem or God in most of his songs, but people, like families, get together around his music, and again, the honesty, the sincerity also kind of gives a good example to people that they want to be sincere, they want to be honest about themselves too. I appreciate that. For me, after I got the taste of Tfilah and Nikudot and songs that have like Reb Nachman's spirit inside them, as far as I can see,
and your intention for what it is kind of matched the receiving end of it. There's something about that that's special too. Meaning this song is as you would have wanted it to be, and people connect to it. I mean, that's a nice place.
Yeah, and but what's
for the relationship between you and an audience?
That's the toughest part in a way, because there can't be really an intention. Because once you say, okay, I'm going to write a holy song, I'm going to write an inspiring song, then it's kind of, it doesn't reach the same depths as if you're just not thinking about fame or about anybody else in the world. You're just writing the song between you and God.
Let's geek out on that process a little bit. Yeah.
Wait, can I add one more thing to the children point? Which children have their own souls. Tell me if you agree with this. And whatever happens to their soul, it's really not in your hands. They're going to have their own journey. But when you put out a piece of art, it's not its own soul, it's your soul going out. Right. And you want to make sure that your soul is reflected in the way you want it to be reflected in. Because otherwise there's all these bits of you out there in ways you don't want them to be out there, affecting the world. No, but
I mean, in the sense that people react to your songs, whether they're independent entities. That's the parallel I'm drawing to children. Is also like that once they're out there.
But I'm saying once they're out there, maybe I'm not a songwriter, I don't know, but they're still part of you, is what I'm saying. The songs are still part of you when they're out there, as opposed to children are their own things.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm a little torn because Ami said some nice stuff there, and maybe what you're saying is true.
You're welcome, Aryeh.
But maybe it's also like it feels like you have more control over your songs than over children, because.
And how many times have you written a song and then like a year later you're like, I actually really like this part.
Right.
In other words, I hated this. I've had songs that have gone through rewrites when you're collaborating with people within the band, and you're like, ugh, the bridge when it changed to this, like at first it was foreign to me. I didn't like what it was doing. This is purely from a musical standpoint, or this lyric, and then you're like, that's my favorite part now. Like the stuff that kind of came at it with friction and tension, whether it's writing it yourself or with other people, out of that tension comes something that's kind of uncomfortable at first. It's like a sore muscle, but you've built something stronger at the end. You've built a complete piece that possibly a year later, you're like, I never looked at it. You come around in different ways, even in relationship to your own work, and you might only discover that once it's been out, once people have felt something from it, and it's interfaced with an audience that you've built and a relationship you've built, holding it to this kind of standard of like getting tossed you might learn something deeper about it. And I think inherent in that it comes from you with the intention inherent in what you're writing, not with some explicit intention, like it has to have this, has to have this. But because it's come from you by nature, it means well.
What would Rick Rubin say right now?
What would Rick Rubin say?
Yeah.
He would say that whatever you're doing, I can't get it right. I don't have a Rick Rubin impression.
I wonder what he'd say.
It doesn't matter what the song is or isn't. Is it done?
Well,
or is it not done?
the real question is, how does Jordan Peterson go?
Well, you know,
Oh, that's much better.
when you're writing a song with holy intention, you're trying to align yourself with the vibrations of the bloody universe, you know? So that's what I
tried to get a Jordan Peterson, but
I wasn't
think
sure what you were doing. I got a little freaked out.
Mouse. It was kind
I was like, is that reverse Rick Rubin? Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about like being your own inner critic and holding it to some standard in which potentially you deprive yourself and the audience and people out there, but even yourself from experiencing what's your output in a different way because your relationship to it changes with time. You make your own choices. Everybody does, and everyone has their sort of their lines of standards for all sorts of reasons.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you've made it this far, we want to let you know that Ami's House is now on Patreon. We love doing extra content, bonus footage with every episode. The best way to support us is to head on over to Patreon, become a guest, and support the show for $5 a month.
If you like watching Ami cut me off, Patreon is a
Patreon.com/Ami's House for bonus content. Thanks so much for your support and become a guest.
Just to geek out on the process for a second. So you're saying when you're writing, everyone talks about creativity and there's this big conversation around the creative professional and sort of the artiste, like the purist, where if you want to embark on being a creative professional, it's a craft that you just have to exercise and do, and you can't wait for the spark. And like you said, like, can you teach songwriting? Can you learn it? Are there techniques? I argue there really are. There's like, you know, that's the cool part to me is demystifying the process to find out, oh, you know, if we shave this bar here, if we put the chorus up a third, you know, like I like that sort of technical aspect of it. To me, the sort of intellectual part of songwriting and the conceptual part is integrated with I love music theory. I love unpacking what I'm hearing. And I know other artists that are really just from the gut where it's like, if that feels right, I know it's right. And it's very like binary. It's immediate. They know if it's working or if it's not. So where do you stand in that sort of type?
I think I'm more like you in my personality. Like I like personality.
Mm-hmm.
I like getting things right
Mm-hmm.
and like scientific. You know, I learn a lot along the way of like people wouldn't accept it if it's this long or if it's that long or if you make the verse like that it doesn't resonate as much. But there's a moment where everything falls apart or not apart, everything falls away and you're left with just the actual song, and that's more than just a sum of all of those parts. And usually ideally that moment is at the beginning, like when the spark starts. There's no way to explain the vision of a song before you start working it. Like, you know this, like when you have an idea for a song, it just comes to you. Like maybe it doesn't come full and you have to work on it a lot, but the core of it it's just a spark. And sometimes it comes at the beginning. Sometimes you start working, you start writing and erasing, and then suddenly it sparks.
And are you hearing a little melody, a little hook, a lyric? Like what's coming first for you?
So the highest version of this for me is when it comes out of my mouth and I don't even hear it. It's just a song that comes out of me.
Like you're singing a phrase? I'm saying, is it words? Is it like just mumbo jumbo?
It could be praying or learning or just, you know, letting my thoughts wander, and then I find myself singing something. Like I didn't even hear it in my head; it just came out of me.
And you're just like,
yeah. Or like I say, I'm praying and I have like a word, and suddenly it starts rhyming, and it just becomes a song. So that's the most beautiful way for me.
It's like the Paul McCartney. Yes, we didn't even know what we were writing. You know, just come out. You know, John and I would just sit there. We'd see a turtle, and I'd be like, "That's a turtle." And then you have chords. You know, you take 2 notes, and then you have 3 notes, and then you go to about 3 or 4 chords, and you're writing a song. Yeah.
So that's a song. So that's a spark that comes out of the world.
Right.
I try to avoid that usually. Like I like the spark to come out of a bit of detachment from the world, to have it come from inside. So the Beatles needed a lot of drugs to reach those kinds of stuff, and a lot of artists do, because it becomes very competitive especially if you're like us, that you like to do things right.
Yeah.
And you like to break them apart and like fix what's not working and make it perfect. So it becomes very, very competitive, and you also lose touch with the spark that started everything. And then, especially when you have a crowd that you're singing to, you can easily forget everything about music and about what it's actually about. And drugs are very helpful for that. Like Jews are better at it. Like when I'm performing with big singers in Israel, they don't do as much drugs, but I see a lot, also religious, a lot. They need a l'chaim before a show, because you're under stress all the time. It's like a feeling of, if I won't be super inspired now, they won't like me. I'm going, you know this from stand-up as well, I guess. You have to go up there and you have to be at the top of your emotional, radiance. And if you're not there, you'll have less crowd next time, right? So it's very stressful, especially when you're an artist. And drugs help with that. But we try to find a way to do it just,
So we're talking about both. I mean, there's performing and then there's the creating, like when you're just privately in your studio. I mean, for me, as far as that stuff, I don't touch anything, and I'm trying to my ultimate place is out of my head and not thinking. Is the place where I'm not like, I'm here, I'm performing for you, I'm here, I'm doing this, here comes the chorus. It's more like fully present.
Right.
That's what Alex Clare said in the episode. Total presence. Rabbi Mana said, beyond all things. He was talking about sex, but he was like, beyond all things, meaning I'm here, you're there, and it's like a very present feeling when it's right in the performance setting for me, as opposed to in that sense, it's great to be rehearsed and comfortable so that I don't have to think about anything. It's all automated.
That's exactly it.
And then it can just be whatever that is. And when stand-up feels right, it's like that. When music feels right, it's like that. But when you're in the studio and you're like, I don't want it to just come randomly, I want to try to do it right. Are you sitting there on a piano humming a melody? Where are you starting from with the blank canvas? There is nothing right now, and I need to write a song. Like, what gets it going? Do you put a beat down, a little loop? Or do you, because you produce as well, so you have that facility that you can put something down together. Some people sketch out a little groove and then start, or just sit at the piano and hit chords, or what?
Or do you not do that? Do you only wait for inspiration and then start writing?
Yeah. Since I started writing a little for other people, like Mordechai Shapiro and Matt Daub, so I found out that I'm very good at writing on command, and I had no idea. Like, Morty comes with this melody, says I need words, and okay, like a day later I have words. And Matt Daub says I need lyrics.
The best part about being requested to do something as a service is it takes you out of it.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden you're like, oh, so I can just do this, and it's actually really nice.
I need that so desperately, just to remove myself from the equation of my own music. So I could, I actually told Arya a few times, please just ask me to write a song. Tell me what to write about. Tell me what to do.
It's amazing with creative people when somebody tells you, hey, can you do this for me? Like, I can spend months trying to figure something out, and if somebody says, I need something tomorrow, can you do that? Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a very crazy, weird part of the brain that you need activation, and it almost cannot come from yourself. It has to come from something else. And sometimes it does that. Like, it activates it turns on the right lever,
Yeah, and being stripped away from all of the options, like when they give you a very small space to work in.
Yeah, a little box.
That's amazing.
It's a relief from the chaos.
They tell you, I want it to be about this type of word. It's so easy.
It's boundaries for all the creativity.
I mean, when you can write about anything, I mean, you're in just a vacuum of nothing. How are you going to think of anything if you could write about anything? But the second somebody says, all right, let's make it about this subject with this person, it suddenly starts to ground the ideas. Yeah, well, and then you start to hear music from it.
I guess it's like what you said about that songs are like children. You just put them out there.
And maybe you can give them to other artists if you're like, this isn't really me as the artist, what I feel is the most true expression of myself, but I'll pitch them around. So there.
Right. We've I guess I should pay you after this like a therapist, getting all the overthinking out of my creation.
Oh, we charge for podcasting.
Send me the bill later. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot. Yeah. Oh, that's a good. It's a good. I mean, a lot of artists have the stuff that they feel best represents them as an artist, and if they really can write, they pitch to other artists to release songs that you don't have to say I'm tossing this. You could say this can be for
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Right.
Good for you too.
She'd take my stuff. I'm sure.
I have a question for you. You said like the songs sometimes just come to you without even going through your head. How do you keep your like instrument like fluid and clean and pure. So like when the song comes to you, it can just come out. Do you have like a practice or I assume it's like religious a little bit, but
I'm really figuring it out. First of all, I don't like the word religious that much in this context because music can't be a religious thing once it's
or cannot.
It cannot because it's by definition it needs to be way beyond any kind of category. Like I'm this religion, I'm that religion.
Transcend those different things.
Beyond
it's
all
universal.
things.
Beyond all things. Yeah.
There's no thing. There's nothing happening.
I love that.
Exactly. As long as you're saying it, it's.
You're saying it must remain universal in a sense. It's not particular or confined.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, I know that. I just mean like your daily practice of like.
So ideally, I try to. It's basically Reb Nachman's advice. That's basically my practice. It's 1 hour a day, just being alone, ideally outside.
You do an hour
at
a day.
Night. Wow, the past year I've been terrible at it.
Yeah.
But before that, I would do an hour.
Why?
at
Stuff been going on in Israel or whatever? Yeah.
It's actually not because of that. It's more because actually after the 7th of October, I had a really good streak of like waking up in midnight, going out to the desert. I live on the edge of the desert, so and just davening and that's great for creativity. Just being with yourself, and it's the easiest thing in the world, and it's the most difficult thing in the world at the same time. It's crazy. Just being alone with yourself with no distractions.
I've been trying. I've never been able to do it consistently for more than a few minutes.
It's
very, very
really
difficult.
Be alone with yourself?
Yeah, to do like Breslov calls it Hisbodedus.
Meditative
but like
practice?
just setting aside even 5 minutes a day to just be by yourself.
Yeah.
Is extremely difficult.
And the thing is also, it's only difficult when you do it through Reb Nachman's kind of version. Because if I try to meditate or something like that, I have no problem. But just the way Reb Nachman asks me to do it, if I do it for Reb Nachman, it's difficult. And Reb Nachman actually said this to his students. He said, anything I tell you to do will be really difficult to do.
What's particularly difficult about that versus other kind of meditative practices?
So practically nothing. It's just the fact that you're doing it for Reb Nachman, or because Reb Nachman said, it becomes difficult.
I mean, like, it's not difficult to like. It's difficult to like literally make the time for it. Like your alarm will go off; it'll be in your calendar, but like then you find an excuse.
Have you tried
whatever
Headspace?
It is. No, but it's not meditation.
It's not
meditation. No.
So what goes on? Just to be alone and see who you encounter in the creek.
So it's basically going to meet God. It's a date.
Yeah.
You go out and figure it out. But it's like avoiding. It's like couples that want to stay together, so they avoid each other a lot, right? They don't have any meaningful conversation,
right?
Because they don't want to surface anything that'll be too difficult to deal with. So it's a lot of times it's that kind of feeling when you go to Hisbodedus, which is the practice of going out for an hour and praying.
It's like a confrontation with what you have to. It's confronting.
Yeah, and the fact that there's no
not
real
confrontation
boundary.
in a bad way, but confronting.
Yep.
You
being alive,
in
the fact that
presence
you're
of
alive
God.
today.
And you need to accept the option that maybe that you don't know what's going to happen. Like you're going out and maybe you'll just be quiet for a year now, just an hour a day, and you'll have nothing to say. That could be, and so be it if that's what it needs to be. Or maybe I'll say the same thing over and over again for a year. And maybe I'll go out and I'll be inspired and feel a deep connection. But a lot of times it's not like that. And it's so that's one practice that I desperately fight for my life to do, but it's really easy and really difficult at the same time. I try to dance half an hour a day, which is very important.
Dance?
Yeah. Just
go on.
Put on music and close the blinds.
And dance.
And go freestyle, because...
Are you a good dancer? Is that something you like?
Decent.
Yeah.
I think so.
With your kids, by yourself?
Every day is different, Sometimes I feel like being alone. Sometimes I feel like my kids need some uplifting. So
what are you listening to?
I used to listen to like pop music.
Gangster hip hop.
No, not that much. That sounds like something I would listen to, but
it's a Slim Shady thing. It's not gangster hip hop, but he's killing it with the new stuff. It's crazy. Have you listened to some of the new?
I heard the new song.
It's crazy.
It's better than the stuff has been. For a while.
You saw the Chris D'Elia thing on him. Anyway, the dancing. Have you always been into dance as an art form? Like, Or is it just like, what does this look like when you're dancing?
For short periods, like
I've always been appealed by dancing. I don't talk about it much, but like,
Dude, I don't think I've ever seen you dance.
oh my God, Michael, it's magical.
I think we need
I love dancing.
I think we need for the podcast like a snippet.
When I
We'll
was
edit it in.
11 years old, I took dance lessons. I really wanted to learn how to dance.
What type of dance?
Hip hop. Yeah. And I got I paid the price for it. You know, like it's not cool as a young yeshiva kid to take dance lessons. It's cool to know how to dance when you're older, but to learn how to dance is gay.
You need to hide the process. Yeah.
And the whole thing. And I was just like, oh, I can't deal with this. Like, it's too much. Everyone's like, oh my God, you take dance lessons? And if I had continued and not given in and I knew how to dance really well right now, what an asset. But I still love it. When I see dancing, I get that, like the same when you listen to music. I got that with music. I got that with comedy. And then I would see dancing and I'd be like, I would love to do that. Like Michael Jackson or anyone. When you watch Michael Jackson or some of the great dancers, on YouTube or whatever, you're just like, it does something to me. I'm like, I really wish I could do that. There's still time.
Didn't know that. My 3-year-old daughter took a dance class this year, and there were no boys in it, and I was so surprised.
No, and boys don't do it. It's not cool.
Yeah, you
These
would think
days,
there would
maybe.
be. Yeah, for a 3-year-old.
Yeah, kids are getting more open these days as far as like what they judge or what's cool. And being eccentric and different is more in vogue than it was in the 90s and 2000s when it was like, ugh. It was everything was much more boxed in back then. Athletes, cool. Guitar in high school, yeah. You can learn music, cool, but not violin. Ugh. You know? It was like certain things were cool. There were certain categories. It was very distinct. What it was in the 90s and 2000s in American culture and Jewish Orthodox culture. Like certain things were cool. Basketball, sports, hockey.
Breakdancing became okay.
Yeah, but if you learned...
Right, it wasn't.
It'd be cool if like a guy in the subway taught you. Yeah. But if you went to a class... Gay.
There's that story you told. That's
how it was called.
You were with like a girl from Long Island.
Yes.
Can you tell the story? Because I love it.
A perfect example of this is I was in high school and we were all like around our kitchen computer, which is how it was back then, watching YouTube videos, watching viral breakdance videos that were like, in the early days of YouTube, it was like bunnies and some like dance videos and stuff like that.
And just the most awful, hardcore, violent stuff you can imagine.
Yes. But we were watching this dance video and everyone was like, wow, he's amazing. This is crazy. This young kid dancing. And at one point, this like Long Island girl turns to the whole group and goes, yeah, but guys, like, he has to like learn this, like in a class. And I'm like, yeah. As if that like defeated its cool. It canceled out the coolness because this guy like studies this or takes lessons.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is?
Why
do they care that you learn it?
Specifically with dance, not music lessons or things like that. I think it was just perceived as...
It's a cultural thing, I think, in the modern Orthodox community here.
Yeah.
You're supposed to just be like, things are supposed to be quick. Even your career is supposed to be very quick. Like, you're supposed to just go to law school and then start making money or consulting or like medicine. Like, you're not supposed to...
But if she saw somebody slaying a drum solo, she wouldn't have said, he has to take lessons on drums. It was like understood. It was understood.
Yeah.
Specifically with dancing.
Okay.
There was something about dancing that was just designated as like feminine, not manly, kind of artsy in a way that like rock and roll isn't.
Yeah,
I disagree though. I think anything you'd have to learn is not cool.
Well, sort of the uncool parts of any artistic endeavor in the modern Orthodox world were not seen as...
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's
Nobody
almost like...
appreciates it when you download Logic Pro for the first time and you start...
And these days it's probably way different. I think to be different and out there is kind of like cool and confident, and these kids are more... In the good side of that is that they're more like accepting of all people's different interests and stuff. And I'm sure in Israel, it's not as big a deal.
In Israel, it's way ahead.
Yeah, I always found that, especially kids growing up in Israel now, people do whatever they want. Like they do this thing, some kids into computers,
unless
tech,
you're like ultra-Orthodox.
Yeah.
I think the boundaries, maybe because we're not embedded in the Goyim as much, our inner boundaries are much more fluid. So if you're modern Orthodox in Israel, you're on a whole spectrum of what you could do. Like you could be almost ultra-Orthodox and you could be just...
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Yep.
You can be...
And I went to yeshiva where people would learn dance lessons all the time. A lot of them turned out to be gay. But,
well, there you go. I think that's why. Why dance? Because it's perceived that guys who dance are gay.
Maybe it's like the chicken and the egg.
But anyway, so you're dancing half an hour a day.
Yeah, it's back to the regimen.
So that is just as important as Hisbodedus to me.
Then a manicure and wax and maintenance. Yeah.
It's a Breslov thing, by the way. Like
to dance.
To dance half an hour a day on the clock.
Amazing.
And,
No, I know these things exist, but I don't have friends who do them really every day.
Yeah.
These
So
regimens.
Yeah.
So, and it's more of you don't have to know how to dance, just like you don't have to know how to do Hisbodedus. It's funny because all these things, when somebody comes and tells you, somebody will come and tell me, oh, I do Hisbodedus all the time. I know I'm the best at it. So I know that he's never really done Hisbodedus. Like he does it on the way to work or whatever. But if you talk to somebody who's actually doing the hardcore, like getting up at midnight, going out to the field, he'll tell you, I don't know how to do Hisbodedus.
Yeah.
I'm just starting.
It's like the guy who's like, I'm not angry anymore. I have no anger left. I have no anger left. I've gotten over all my anger issues.
Until they get married and they find out that.
Yeah, dude. You're.
I wanted to ask Shmuel about like the current scene in Israel, because I don't know how much time we have. I think I may have something in a little bit, but as far as the scene in Israel, music wise, you're now putting out music, you're putting stuff out there, and there is like these various scenes, and we've seen from America this amazing renaissance of Jewish music, sort of the Yishai Ribo effect, where his music domestically in Israel is like uniting all these factions, which is so cool. It used to be that everything coming out of Israel just was this raspy guy with a nylon string guitar, you know? It was just this one sound that I thought of with Israeli music. Like back in the day, it had that flavor, or in American Jewish music, it's just like kind of religious, like Judaica house, you know, little boy with a great voice singing, and then some guy coming in, you know, whatever it is, that sound. But now there's this modern influenced, like good music, whatever you want to call it, like music that resonates and is modern and original and also still spiritual and connected. So it's a really exciting time, I think, to be in the scene that you're coming up into. What's your take on it and like your involvement in the general community?
It's exciting, and it's also, you know, it's also very developing, the music, the Jewish music field. It's also a little saturated now. Like I came at the end of an era. Like I think it started with Udi Davidi. I don't know if you guys know him, or Aaron Roselle. They kind of were the first religious singers to get into the like secular playlist in Israel.
He just came out with an amazing song, Nitzchi maybe. Roselle?
Who, Aaron?
Yeah.
I didn't hear it.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a few months ago. Yeah,
he's amazing.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And then after that, Yishai Ribo made a whole new precedent with his music, and now at least in Eretz Yisrael, people are a little fed up of religious pop kind of.
Interesting.
You know, it became a bit of a how do you say shablona? You know what it means in Hebrew?
They got burnt out? Shablona?
Generic.
It became
generic,
like, it's like, this again.
It
We've
became
all heard
a bit generic. So if you don't have something really special to give that they haven't heard before, they're not really interested anymore. But Dafka in
comes in waves, you know.
In America and in France and in outside Israel, it's really, really it's like prospering field.
We're catching up. We're like, we're discovering it.
Most of my shows in the past year were outside of Israel because people are just catching up really to the modern Jewish music.
Yeah, sorry. When you walk down the streets in Israel, are you recognized?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I spoke to Mordechai one time, Mordechai Shapiro, and he told me, and he put it perfectly. He said, I go into a grocery store, and I say to myself, I wish nobody will recognize me. And then when nobody recognizes me, I say, well, why isn't anybody recognizing me? That's exactly how it feels. Like it's very pleasant that people come up to you and say how touched they are. Some kind of really stick with me that some guy came to me here and told me, an old guy, not young, and he told me, I just wanted to tell you that my wife cried 1,000 tears to tell me tefillah, and I'm ashamed to say that so did I. And then he went off, and it stuck with me. But it happens a lot. Also in Eretz Yisrael, do you say, or Israel? How do you say that here?
Israel?
You say Eretz Yisrael.
That works.
And
Did you walk away from the guy like, ooh? Whoa. Yeah, no, for sure.
and it's nice. It's
Of
really
course.
nice. It's addictive, very addictive.
It's a good feeling. I can't go to Teaneck kosher lot shops anymore. They're throwing tichels at me. No. But I hear you. No, it's always a very nice. Remember Scott Galloway was on. He was like, there's this perfect level of notoriety and fame where people in a niche know you.
Yeah.
That you can function in the world.
You can get a
Do
reservation.
you get like people that hate you that come up to you and say you Zionist or you whatever?
When I did this show in Egypt, no, I'm kidding. I don't get haters coming up to me. I get haters, it's commenting, but no
keyboard
one has come
warriors,
up to me negatively yet.
I say negative stuff too.
Michael comes up to me constantly. No, but no one where I'm like, oh boy. No, that hasn't happened. It's only been positive,
good.
thank God, so far.
Thank God.
If I'm in the right area, if I was hanging out Washington Square Park long enough, or I was at a protest, maybe, and our counter protest, somebody might recognize from certain things, but usually not. In fact, like, depending on the algorithm you're on social media, like, the people who know the funny stuff aren't necessarily aware. Like, sometimes I'll see people commenting on funny videos I do. Ha, 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 spot on, love this. And they'll have, like, a Palestinian flag in their profile. And I'm like, are they visiting my profile? Because then they would see some other things. But, like, it's funny. Like, there's a siloed off algorithm of stuff. So I don't get hate in person, thank God.
Thank God. Should keep on that way.
Yeah.
Do you?
Me? No.
yeah.
I don't think I'm well known outside the Jewish community, except for some Christian communities that know me a little. But
oh yeah, the
but they like me
evangelicals.
too,
You got to tap that. Evangelicals, they love.
Yeah, I
us
get
Jews.
messages like "pray for my daughter" or stuff like that.
All from the Tanli Tefillah effect. Has that been the big one?
I don't know actually. Tennis Tefillah was a big one in my audience, but out like in the Christian audiences and stuff, I don't know what got them there because of the algorithms. Like you said, everything's so kind of divided.
Yeah.
Every video is on its own. It's hard to tell really what got where.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So in terms of just the scene in Israel that you're coming into, I from our perspective, I find it really cool what's been happening and that Yishai Rebo's coming here and filling up Madison Square Garden, which really paves this way of like a rising tide lifting all boats. Because you're saying in Israel, it's like people hear another thing and they're a little sick of it. But I feel like still good is good is good. If another Yishai Rebo level song or your song comes out and it's awesome, no matter how it's packaged, I feel like people will respond to it. You know what I mean? They'll be like, oh, even though like people trying to sound like something may be written off because it's tired, but if it's good.
Yeah, there's an audience. It's
mainly,
I think it's mainly the radio. The radios don't really like that anymore.
Right, because they want to find the next thing and they want to
they want it to resonate. So if they feel like you're replicating something, they don't really care. But the audiences, they're still listening.
And the live music scene, like if people are playing, or are you in that like circuit, in that radius?
I actually just had a show in Modi'in a day before the flight here, which was beautiful. Beautiful. I sound like Trump.
So
Terrific
beautiful. Yishai Ribo, we love him. He's Ribo. He's ready and Ribo and doing great things. Great. He's coming here to the garden. MSG. We love the Jews and we love these Jewish musicians. They sound so terrific. They're so fantastic. Yes, go on. So Modi'in, we love Modi'in. Yep.
So we didn't have a lot of shows since the 7th of October.
Yeah.
Everything completely shut down.
Yeah.
I was supposed to have a day after the 7th. I was supposed to have a show with Yishai Rebo. Like I was the guest, not
you were opening
and a guest,
Nice.
And that obviously was canceled. And since then there were barely any shows. Like the one in Modi'in was the first, like
big
show
concerts
that
for
was
security were
mine.
just like the things were shut down for security reason.
Not for security reasons, more for like people are grieving. Like a lot of half the country's in the army.
Right,
and,
the spirit is not there.
People aren't really there. It's tough to get people to shows unless it's like a charity event for the soldiers. For I don't know what.
Yeah, we're doing that like crazy over here, and we're raising money, but we just want to have fun because we're Americans. We can't handle it.
It was like
That's a
that
good
for
way.
like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then people started going out again here.
Yeah,
because it's different. Because in Israel,
Yeah.
like the grieving is,
it's
direct and
wartime.
personal, and it's war, and people are dying. And
absolutely. And I don't know. There's something also in living in Israel that you feel you can't really forget the hostages as long as your friends are in the army fighting for them. You know, like everything's so connected. Everyone is so connected there that it's much more present in the
And
air.
I think here also we relate it back to a singular event of October 7th and its trauma, but because we're not at war on the front lines domestically here, we hear horrible news and we grieve as it comes in. But in Israel, like, you're at war. Like, there's October 7th, which brought it on, and that trauma, but also just the fact that you're at war and in danger on a regular basis.
And also the craft of making a show is completely different because you don't know who's going to be in the crowd. It could be a mother whose son is in the army, or a mother who lost her son, or you have no idea who's going to be there. So everything you do has to be very sensitive.
And the pulse is distorted of like how people are feeling.
Exactly.
It could be at any moment.
On the other hand, people are in desperate need of something uplifting,
Yeah.
So I've been wanting for a long time to do a show for the wives of the soldiers, because they're like the people that don't get enough attention, in my opinion, because the soldiers, everybody's supporting, but the wives at home are taking a big hit.
And the wife's like, I'm exhausted. Can you put the camera on me, please? I've been here with 7 kids alone.
It's crazy. And a lot of them in hotels because they're outside their homes. It's
crazy.
Really crazy.
Can I ask you just one more question? Because I know we got to wrap up soon. But I'm curious. I'm interested to hear you say that it's the sort of fusing of spiritual and music has sort of become generic there, because I feel like since October 7th, artists like Omer Adam and like more of the secular artists have sort of embraced more of the like Jewish identity and like Torah identity in their music. I'm like, just do you have any thoughts on like what's happened since October 7th to sort of the nature of Israeli music adopting more of like a Torah perspective and Jewish identity perspective?
I don't know if they adopted more of a Jewish perspective, really. Like Omer Adam, I know in America, when people hear a song in Hebrew, they naturally think it's a holy song
or religious
or something Jewish.
Yeah,
which isn't the case. Like I came. Right. So that is Jewish. But I came one time. I was here and I went into a mikveh, a men's mikveh, and I heard this guy putting on Tfilah, and straight after was like a love song, like a completely secular love song.
But it's playlist, same playlist.
Yeah, but it's like, it sounds the same, and it's in Hebrew.
It is true.
So.
Americans just fall for it.
I don't know what I'm thinking of specifically. I thought he did like a collaboration with maybe Evet Tarbanai or some. I may be wrong about that. I guess
there's a lot of Jewy kind of elements because.
But Omar's been putting on tefillin. He's been popularizing his sort of embracing a liting a little bit of that. So maybe it's outside the music. I don't know.
The Mizrahi type are generally more connected, like to the simple faith, even not to the mitzvahs.
That's the Sephardi thing,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have no problem singing about Shabbos or anything like that on stage. It's natural for them. And after the 7th of October, it was like Eyal Golan put out Am Yisrael Chai, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu Shomer Aleinu. Because it's like the basic Jewish identity things that keep people together. So it's also what resonates, so people react to it, and it became a huge hit. And it's real. People need to hear about their identity.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know if it's like really they're actually incorporating more Jewish stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Asked and answered.
What a schmooze with Shmuel. We have to end on a little jam. We started with one.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's pass the guitar over, Michael.
Yeah.
I think we can start from scratch. And I have a few minutes left. And as you pass the guitar, here's the transition music. Ladies and gentlemen, so honored to have with us today Shmuel.
You get so mad at me.
Up and coming, ascending artist, taking the world by storm, giving us all a prayer. Should we start from scratch or should we keep on this jam?
This is nice.
It's just a nice way to end it, I think, So.
Give one more chorus.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's mainly tefila achad.
Tova.
Tova. And then
Achat kena. Good
I
luck.
got it. I'm sorry, it's American. I know how it sounds. I don't know anything else.
Give me just one good prayer that'll open the gates everywhere. Give me just one honest word that'll leave me without a breath of air. I wanna be hanging by a thread in the middle of the sea. Call and save me. Give me just one good prayer that'll open the gates everywhere. Give me just one honest word that'll leave me without a breath of air. I wanna be like a beast in the forest outside, howling to you, howling all night. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shmuel.
Thanks for
so
having
much.
me. That was fun.
Thanks for being here, man. I just realized Shmuel doesn't know I don't play mandolin.
Nothing.
I just realized that.
Nothing.